Hi gang, this is Dan Murphy, my next podcast, and this one, I thought about this the last couple of weeks. I've been thinking about Mike Pegram. I met Mike Pegram on an airplane, of all things. And here's what happened. I fly back every year, well, when my kids were young especially, to Iowa. And I'd fly to Cedar Rapids on TWA. They're gone now, TWA. I'm not, but they are. And I'd fly from Seattle to St. Louis and then take a DC-9 up to Cedar Rapids. And then on the way back, I would always, in case I could get a free voucher, when I got to St. Louis, if it was crowded, the plane was packed, I'd always volunteer to take the next flight. Great, you know. And so I'm in St. Louis. It was 1996, and the plane was packed. It was in July. And I won. I won the lottery of getting a free voucher because they called my name. I was actually sitting on the plane. They called Dan Murphy. I said I won, and everybody clapped. Yay, way to go, sir. And I got off the plane, picked up my voucher. I waited an hour and a half at the next gate over and took an MD-80 instead of the L-1011. Anyway, I get on the plane and I realize they bumped me up to first class. Well, I've never paid for first class. I've only been on first class 3 times when I've been bumped up for various reasons like this reason. So I'm sitting there, the front row, all the way to the left, and looking out the window. And this nice fella gets on. He's about my age, and he sits down. Hey, how are you? My name's Dan Murphy. I'm Mike Pegram. How are you, Mike? And I don't know Mike, and he's new into horse racing, but I don't know who he is, and he doesn't obviously know who I am. But I noticed that he's holding a Keeneland sales catalog. Well, I know Keeneland, and I know that Keeneland is in this country, Keeneland is the place to sell horses. The Keeneland auction, there's like 4 or 5 a year. It's a tremendous place to sell horses, to buy and sell them. And I said, oh, were you at the Keeneland? He said, yeah. I just flew from Lexington, and I just popped in, and I'm here in St. Louis going to Seattle. I just bought, I forgot how many horses. He bought 3 or 4. And I said, wow. And he had the catalog with him, the horses that he bought, and he started showing me. He said, my trainer is Bob Baffert. And it turned out that he had given Bob Baffert, he's now a famous trainer. This is 1996 now. He had given Bob Baffert $1 million to get him into thoroughbreds because Bob was into quarter horses. And he told me this. He said, I fronted him $1 million because I wanted him to be my trainer, and he was only doing quarter horses at the time. And so now they were I think not the first time, but close to it, they were buying some thoroughbreds for Mike Pegram. And he showed me this one that I remembered because I wanted to remember it in case later on I might want to bet on the horse. He said there was an up-and-coming sire named Quiet American. And there's a horse we bought for $17,500. I remembered all that because I have this weird memory for horse racing stuff. But what I had for breakfast, I don't know. So that's what my friends always say. Murph, you remember all this horse racing stuff, but you don't know what day it is. I know. I'm loony. And so we talked horse racing all the way to Seattle. 2 hours and 50 minutes. It seemed like 10 minutes. He grew up in Princeton, Indiana. And he, just like his dad and my dad, we were doing the same thing with our dads, getting the racing for him on Friday night. He was going to Ellis Park or Churchill Downs. I was going to Sportsman's Park, Arlington Park, or Hawthorne for thoroughbreds. And we were having the same feelings, the same excitement, waiting for the racing form to hit the newsstand. We couldn't wait. And talking about it with our dad that night, Friday night, reading the form, it was called the Bible for horse players, the daily racing form. But he was also talking about buying thoroughbreds. And Bob Baffert had taught him lots of things about buying, what you should do and shouldn't do. And one thing Bob does is in his catalog, the horses that he's already looked at, that he wants to bid on, he has a price down. And he tries to never go over that price. There was an example I think it's about 10 years ago, it might be longer. There's a horse named the Green Monkey, And you might want to look them up on your computer, and you'll laugh out loud when you see it. The Green Monkey sold for, are you ready for this? Write it down. $17 million. That's $1 million. $17 million. There's no horse on the planet that's ever been worth $17 million. But these two guys got in a mine's bigger than yours bidding war, is really what happened. So, and the horse, I was kind of excited because the horse was running on, and I have TVG, which is the horse race channel you can get on cable. The horse was running, the Green Monkey they named the horse, and he was running, and I think it was Belmont or Saratoga, but I think it was Belmont. And it was his first race, and I was really excited to see this $17 million horse. And he came on the track, and he looked like a quarter horse. He had a big butt, and he didn't look like anything. He looked like nothing. And he ran fourth. He ran fourth 3 more times, and they stopped running him. He put him up for stud at $5,000. And there's one horse that I know, I think it was last year, that raced, and the Green Monkey was the sire. And I'm not kidding now. The horse ran fourth. So it's genetics. But isn't that crazy? I mean, that's just nutsy. So you don't spend that much money, obviously, on a horse like that. So then later that summer, like a month later, in the Long Acres Mile, at the time it was at Emerald Downs, and just a few years later they were allowed to use Long Acres Mile again, but it was the Emerald Mile or whatever they want, Emerald Downs Mile, I can't remember, but it was the same idea as the Long Acres Mile, and it was, I think, still a grade 3. But Bob Baffert and Mike Pegram, the guy that I spent our airplane ride with, they brought up this horse named Is It In Good. And Is It In Good, can you imagine that name? Is It In Good? They got that through, double entendre. Oh my God. But they got that name through. That horse ran in the Emerald Downs Mile and won. And so I knew that of course I knew he was here, and I went down and saw him in the paddock, and we chatted briefly. But and so I met Mike Pegram when he was really new into ownership. And then it was fun, real quiet then. In 1998 then, won the Kentucky Derby. He won the Preakness. And I happened to be at the Hilton in Vegas when he ran in the Belmont. And he was out by 4 lengths at the top of the stretch. And he got caught by Victory Gallop, Gary Stevens aboard, by 1 inch. And I'm not exaggerating, it was 1 inch. And so that's the story. And Mike Pegram, just a gentleman, and he gave me a ride home too. I lived in Bothell, and he lived north of there. Instead of having my roommate Sharon drive all the way out from Bothell to pick me up at the airport, he drove me home. So a real gentleman, a good guy, Mike Pegram. Again, look him up online and you'll see. But I wanted to tell you that story because it's one of my favorites. It was my favorite flight ever. And I was bumped up to first class.